Do you ever hear a story so absurd you think it has to be fake? That's what I thought too. When we think of organized crime, we think of briefcases, cigars, maybe a whispered deal in a dimly lit bar. But this time, the underworld didn't target art, jewels, or even cash. They set their sights on something far stranger. This is the story of one of the most ridiculous crimes ever committed and the priceless items that vanished. Hello out there, I hope we're all well. I am so excited to tell you this story. It's one of those that is so bizarre, you never know where it's gonna go. Listen, if you'd asked me a few weeks ago what the video lineup was gonna be when I came back, you could have given me a million years. And I would have never guessed one of them would be this, ever. This is a more lighthearted, fun one. I kind of wanted to tiptoe back in with a couple of those, a couple highs, so humor me for a second, please. And then we will get back into more gritty, more dramatic stories. Anyway, believe it or not, apparently, the innocent little 90s kids show Bananas in Pyjamas once came face to face with some shady figures. Yeah, and it was not for a TV episode. This was real life in the world. So without further rambling, this is the tale of the Great Banana Heist. So let's rewind all the way back to the 90s. In my humble, correct opinion, there was no better time to be a kid than like the late 90s, early 2000s. I know I'm telling my age there, but whatever, I don't care. Malls were still a big thing. I miss hanging out at the mall so much. Now they're all dead and kind of depressing, and there's chains all over all the empty ones. Anyway, Hummers with spinners, Limp Bizkit, and what was on TV? Bananas in Pyjamas. It was this really cute little kids show. The main characters were giant bananas named B1 and B2, and it ran from 1992 to 2002. But it came to American TV, where I live, in 1995. And this was one of my favorite shows as a kid, so when I heard this story, it blew my mind. It feels weird to talk about a kids show on this channel at all. Like, okay, ideally, the world of children's entertainment and the seedy underworld should not really exist in the same realm, but that is not the world we live in, apparently. So our story begins with Kenneth Radley, who played B1, aka one of the bananas, for almost a decade. And a long-standing rumor that at one point, the giant banana costumes were stolen, banana-napped, and held for ransom. Weirdly specific rumor. Again, you could have given me a million years and I never would have guessed that that is what happened before I heard this story, but I digress. Anyway, Kenneth went on to the Final Encore podcast recently, and he confirmed that this rumor actually happened. So this is allegedly how it all shook out, okay? The network that put on Bananas in Pyjamas was the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, or ABC. Pretty fitting for kids programming. So the marketing chief was a guy named Graham Graspy, and he did this press tour type thing where he would take the giant banana costumes traveling all over the world, which sounds burdensome, to be honest. And he would put actors or dancers in the suits to get photos of the bananas in iconic, high-profile places. The White House, the London Tower, you get it. All to gain new international audiences. Was Photoshop just not a thing back then? Because I feel like this all could have been prevented super easily. Maybe not, but anyway, Graham took the suits to Moscow, Russia, to get some photos at the Red Square, which is really beautiful, by the way, but his trip was quickly derailed, to say the least. Now, next thing we know is that the suits were stolen from their travel cases, and Graham received a ransom note for 100,000 Australian dollars, which would be about 65,000 USD for the return of the suits. And that was back then money, by the way. And apparently this note was from the Russian mob. So now Graham, the marketing guy, is panicking, as you would. He calls up ABC all the way in Sydney like, you're never gonna believe this. And he explains what happened. Which, how you explain that the mob has taken the bananas hostage? Beyond me. All this talk of bananas has my stomach gurgling like crazy, and I am just hoping and praying that you guys cannot hear it. So apparently the head of the ABC is like, yeah, we're not giving these guys $100,000, especially when the suits only cost $20,000 to make. So they tell Graham to offer $20,000. Yeah, they told their marketing guy to try to strike a deal, try to haggle with the Russian mafia. What could go wrong? Now, apparently the mafia actually agreed to this, because next thing we know, the network wired Graham the money, and he is on his way with a briefcase full of cash to meet the mob. How does that become your life? What series of events leads to, I have a suitcase with $20,000 in it, and I am on my way to meet the Russian mafia to exchange it for 2 giant banana suits? Like, how does that happen? Imagine, oh my God, imagine they start sending the studio like slices of bananas just so they know they mean business. Anyway, apparently Graham had those same reservations because he had a sudden change of heart, said, what the hell am I doing? I'm a marketing guy. I can't deal with the mob. And he got on a plane with the money and promptly went home. And that's how things are left. He ghosted the mafia. The bananas are probably left to be held in a freezing cold basement or something. I don't know. Maybe cut up and used for giant banana splits. Now, I have some questions. One, how do we know for sure that this was the mafia? Like, I highly doubt the note was, give us 100K, love, Russian mob, XOXO Gossip Girl. Like, do they not have anything better to do than, what, steal banana costumes? Let's say hypothetically it was them. Like, who came up with this idea? Please imagine a round table discussion where a bunch of mob guys are like seriously dead ass discussing this. Like, we're gonna steal 2 giant banana suits, and then I guess they put it to a vote or something. I don't know. I don't know the inner mechanics of the Russian mob, okay? Also, Kenneth, the B1 actor who came forward with this story, he did say on the podcast that Graham received a ransom note. But he went on an Australian news channel shortly after that and said it was a phone call. He also admits that he made up the mafia part and that it was really just unknown persons, but he goes on to say that it had to have been somebody big, like the mafia. Just like last week, I want to say inside job so bad, but what would they gain from the suits going missing? Like, the network ended up using the 20K to make new suits. I also want to say maybe a publicity stunt, but this show hasn't aired in, what, 2 decades now? I don't know. That's my takeaway. I don't know. That's what it usually is. Anyway, that is a wrap for today. This was such a dumb one. But I have been researching some heavy stuff for future videos, so this was a nice change of pace, for sure. Anyway, like this video if you like the story, if you like that I'm more zoomed out. Normally I'm like up in your face. I feel like I have lost the plot as to my setup and where I am placed in it. So give me your opinions. Do we like this? Do we not? Is it good? Is it worse? I don't know. Anyway, thank you for coming over, and as always, if you have any story ideas, please feel free to comment them so I can see what you want to see, and with that, I will see you next week. Goodbye.